All right, welcome back, Scott Redler from T.
How's it going?
How you doing this morning?
I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right. Just getting the day going. Just did about 40 charts, and I'm just trying to look over, potential setups and what could happen today, what might happen tomorrow, and it's definitely an interesting spot. What do you guys think of this spot? Everything's coiling right in front of the CPI tomorrow.
It is.
Did
We
you see the
survived
eclipse?
Thursday.
Did you see the eclipse where you were, Scott?
Oh, I did. It wasn't a great one. It was a little cloudy out. I was actually on with Liz Clayman yesterday, and it was kind of cool. So we were on it, and she was showing clips from the city, how the city got really dark. So I thought that was pretty cool. And my son was with my wife with the lacrosse team, and they were watching it over at the field, and they all had their glasses. And it said it was a little overrated, but I saw some really good clips on Twitter, that were probably better than from, what I heard from people. Anyway,
What percentage? I mean, what was it? Were you guys in the totality or no?
I think New Jersey was like pretty total, like, over 90%.
Okay, so probably similar here to in Detroit. We had pretty good totality, but not the full. But all right, let's get to stocks. You said you did 40 charts this morning. What's sticking out to you?
It's like you were in this little spot here that it's kind of tough because you have like the semis are in consolidation mode. And in the past week or so, NVIDIA just feels like it's just channeling and, it's lagging a bit. SMCI is lagging a bit. AMD has been weaker. So it's been like the semis have not been the bread and butter of the past, of the past week like they were for the past month. So sometimes you just have to kind of, let them rebuild on the side. In the Magnificent Seven, Amazon's been making me some really good money, but it's like there's no power there either. You have to sell strength, buy a dip, sell strength, buy a dip. Look at the daily chart. It's like, thank God I'm not looking for momentum there because there has been none, but it's been working higher. It's not that exciting. Google, you could say, has been, if you put Google up, it's been best in breed lately, ever since the AI news with Apple. And now they have the Dell Developer Conference today. So the question is, will they sell that news because it's at a high? Because I always like to sell the news anytime there's a conference. I'm trying to get excited, and it's like, it was exciting to be in silver and gold for the past 6 weeks, and now I'm just trying not to get rid of all my silver the way I did with gold last week, and try not to trim and trail my way out of that. Did you guys play any silver and gold? It's been absolutely fantastic.
Long term, just long. I've had it in since COVID, and it's just one of those core holdings. And I used to complain about it 2000, 1800, 2000, 1800, and then it finally broke out. And silver, just silver's been the laggard. That was the laggard trade. And it's just like, it just feels like with gold and silver, it's just like one day you're going to come in, gold's going to be down $150 or, that's just the way it trades. Everyone gets in, on one side of the market. But I just want to talk.
I'm just listening in the background here, and I mean, just going through what Scott just said. I mean, Nvidia's kind of tired, AMD's kind of tired. You got gold and silver rip, and TLT is a disaster. I mean, you're adding up all this stuff, and it doesn't paint the most rosy picture in the stock market here, Scott. I'm like, it doesn't make me just want to go out and buy ahead of this CPI number tomorrow. I'm kind of a little bit nervous.
Yeah, listen, I think rightly so. Even last week, they kind of shook the tree a little bit. If you remember last Thursday, they had that that big outside day. And then, if you finally were a bear and you were like, ready to fight, if you did that on Friday, you got your tushy kicked, because they just rallied them back on Friday. And then yesterday, you have an inside day. So things are coiled for tomorrow. So I do think that, you could probably, instead of guessing, you could do some kind of call spread and put spread on the spiders and the Qs, just in case there's an outsized move besides things you're committed to. I know as an active trader, back in the day, in my first 5 years of trading, I would never have any positions into a big binary event like a jobs report or this or that. But at our age, which we're getting old, you can see by the forehead and the gray, I could massage, 6, 7, 8 positions that I think, I could, handle with my tier system and then sell some premium with the spies as a hedge. But, I do think tomorrow is going to be interesting. Let me go to my charts for a second. Like if you look look at the chart of the Qs real quickly. I'll press present, right? That's so share screen. Well, not the entire screen. There you go. Share. So let's see. So you see here like this channel. So, it's just the question is this just a normal consolidation after, a huge move that we saw, or is it going to, break to the downside? But at least it's tight, right? That's all you could ask for as a trader. You can say, hey, you could buy the 443 calls for Friday and sell the 449s. And that's, to be involved, that's your call spread. Or you could buy the 439s and sell the 435s. Or you could do like a lotto spread and say, hey, I don't want to risk that much. I'll buy the 447s, and then not even do a spread just so you risk, or you could buy the 435s, the puts, because that's how tight we are. So for me, I'm going to revisit that probably a little later, today to just see where we're at. You could, then you look at the SPYs that are very tight. Like look at that little doji, that the tiny little doji yesterday, right? So
would you do that on a weekly, or would you give yourself a little bit more room because there's so much juice in the weeklies?
I would do the weekly just because you're playing for a binary event. I'm not playing for a trend like you have. Sometimes like, oh, is news coming? When's it going to trigger? Like you have the CPI Wednesday, you have the PPI later in the week. So it's either something's going to give or not. So when there's a binary event, I like to go shorter term, so I'm not paying for the time. And if there's a lot of juice there, you just make it into a spread, so you're covering yourself on the other side of the juice. So if you buy a call, you could sell a call higher. They're giving the same juice. You're limiting your upside, but at least you're in that game. But if you look here at that, this doesn't look like a whole lot. But then you're like, oh, let me look at the weekly chart, and this is what's kind of scary because you're like, oh, ascending.
What a run
that it's been in, and it's ascending channels are great until they break, and this has been riding, and now, it's still just, is this going to be a channel now, or is it going to break here and see some downside? It's hard to tell. The rotation's been plentiful. In the last 6-7 weeks, the equal weight S&P played catch up. It's not just about 7 names. The energy went, banks went, small caps been decent, metals went. It's like a lot to like if you're not just looking for a correction like most people on TV do or most economists say.
I mean, that whole channel higher has been driven by the AI trade for basically 3 months, and then we've cooled off in the AI trade for the last month, and the indexes aren't going higher. So I don't think it's coincident S&P's, up, barely up since where we were a month ago, because NVIDIA and the major companies have cooled off. So it's interesting setup this week. I mean, the AI trades cooled off, trades have cooled off. You have a CPI number that is very much going to matter. So did you do the technicals on the TLT? I know you did that last time we were on. I just want to know, do we have some support coming here? Do you have a chart on? Oh, he does. He's got it up here. It kind of broke below this 92-ish.
Yeah, that was a big level.
But then hit a low of 91, and it's been a little bit above it. So it seems like the market cares more when there's like a new little threshold. So it looks like rates made a high probably on April 3rd, and since then, hasn't gone above that, and this hasn't gone below that. So it's, it's trying to ignore it. If the CPI comes in really hot tomorrow and the TLT breaks below 91, chances are market's going to be pressured. If the CPI comes in line or a little light, then hey, then maybe this bounces back up, and then it's not an obsession for a little bit until it is. So at this point, I'm kind of not that excited. Sometimes you're like chopping at the bid. You're like, I can't wait to have a call spread in NVIDIA, buy high, sell high, this, that. Now it's like, I actually have an open house this week, with hundreds of people that are there that all want action. I'm like, trying to figure out where am I, where am I?
It's a quiet week. I mean, we do have the CPI, but I mean, the earnings calendar is non-existent until Friday when we start getting the banks, and then it starts getting exciting the following week here. But these last couple of weeks is quiet from an earnings perspective here, so there isn't a lot of catalysts. I mean, that's why there's probably more pressure here for the CPI to not be hot, because you don't have like an earnings, report's going to, bail us out if the numbers, is.
Well, Friday. I mean, we have Delta tomorrow. We got the banks on Friday, and they've had some nice runs.
The banks never seem to move the overall market anymore. They used to. Scott remembers the days where we really kicked Goldman Sachs earnings driving S&Ps higher. It just seems like
And they always sell JP Morgan on numbers, no matter what.
Yeah,
it is.
they do.
No matter what.
But you
And if you look at
can
JP
have
Morgan,
that theory and you can still get run over in it. It's always, they always do that at JP Morgan. It's just the timing of it. But
you want to look at the weekly chart of JP Morgan. Look at this monster move that it had. Wow. I haven't been playing the banks. I played Goldman and Morgan a few weeks ago. It had a good move, but look at this move in JP Morgan. It's funny how he's always negative lately too. Like the highs of rates back in October, that's when he said, "Oh, they can go to 8% when the 10-year was like at 5.2, and that was the high." And now he's still talking about deficit spending, this and that. And meanwhile, JP Morgan needs a good economy and a good stock market. He talks out of both sides of his tush lately.
Yeah,
but
he's always conservative.
I saw Jamie Dimon speak here in Detroit about a year and a half ago, and I was actually pretty blown away. Like he, seemed like a very smart, intelligent guy. Like enjoyed his talk, but at the time, he basically said like, yeah, the market's going to be, go through a really tough time here, this and that. And then we just continue to make, new all-time highs. So he was wrong when I heard him speak a year and a half ago. And he's basically saying the same stuff now that he was saying a year and a half ago. So as long as if you keep saying,
he's always wrong with his market commentary. It's unbelievable that he runs the bank so well. He's lucky he's not a stock trader. Jamie Dimon is not a stock trader because Bitcoin is, a bubble and it's going to burst and it's nothing. And, the recession's coming. We got to be conservative here. Interest rates are going to go to 13% or whatever the hell he's talking about here.
That is
lucky, Scott.
But 2 days after that,
trader.
2 days after that, their chief market strategist comes out and says, you got to buy this market. You got to absolutely buy everything in sight. So they hedge, the Chinese wall there. They always come out, and Dimon says all these negative things, and then, boom. Scott, I wanted to ask you real quickly. You were talking about Apple last week, and it did get a little bit of a pop, but man, oh man, I mean, the way I look at technical analysis, the longer you hang out near a major support level, the better chances you're going through it. Any take on Apple?
You know what? I haven't traded Apple in 3 weeks, and I used to be like the Apple trader. Like years ago, I was the Apple trader, then I was the Tesla trader, and the last 6 months I've been the NVIDIA trader. Now it's like, it seems like when Apple's a laggard, the market doesn't care that much, but when it starts to break lower and go to new areas, the market cares and tech cares. So I do think this 168 area is pretty important for Apple. And then if you have 165, if this doesn't hold and they want to sell the market, here you go. 157.50 is next, and then 148. So at this point, this is a pretty key spot for Apple. But if you were shorting, the market because Apple was going lower, you lost. So the correlations that we've had all changed. Same way, like you said, Jamie Dimon was all negative. Same time Mike Wilson was. And it threw a lot of traders off because those guys are smart guys, and you're like, the market's going up, but you don't want to feel like a dumb trader using technicals because the smart guys that are billionaires are saying the market's going to come in. So it created the cognitive dissonance in your head. So we go with the symbol as DTA. You know what that means? Don't trust anyone. My TV stays off until 9 o'clock because I'm looking at the charts. I'm looking at the news. I don't want to hear anyone else's opinion because, strong opinions is what puts traders out of business. Flexibility, multiple plans is what keeps you moving forward.
Yeah.
All right, guys, if you do want to join Scott all week in his virtual trading floor, April 8th through 12th, again, that QR code is there on the bottom of the screen. You can also hit the link in the description. Also share that in the chat to make it easy for you guys. So again, if you guys want to join Scott, he's doing 40 charts a day, 40 charts in the morning. You got to go ahead and get some of those, Scott. If you want
you know what? I'll say one thing that I think I have some conviction on. I really feel like Bitcoin's been hanging here for a while. If you look at the chart of Bitcoin on the daily, I've been accumulating BITO calls for this week through May, thinking that at some point, this Bitcoin has to have one more massive move. Okay, it's hovering here. I know it's had a big move already, but it's like when you have the leader of a massive sector that's kind of on a massive move, it doesn't end on a failure. It usually has to have one real more blow off move. So I think 73.8 is the high there. BITO, there's like $32.5, $33 calls into this weakness. I'm trying to buy the $33 calls for like the first week in May. So this way my risk is premium paid. A lot of Bitcoin happens trading overnight, but I do think there's gonna be one more move where it's kind of like placing a bet on the over, which, the stock market is not a casino, but I do think that, you accumulate some of these. I've been accumulating them already. Some of the $33 calls in BITO, which you can go here. And at some point, it's going to take this out, and there's going to be one more move, whether it's before the halving or a week or two after. So, we'll talk about it right here. And in the next month, you could beat the hell out of me if it doesn't happen. If it
one way or another. Hey, Scott, before we let you go, first of all, congratulations. I saw on Twitter your son hit that shot in the basketball game. That must be a lot of fun. But I asked you, are you an NFL fan at all?
NFL? Yeah.
I mean, do you have a favorite team?
Unfortunately, I live in New Jersey, and I've been a Jet fan for a while. But thank goodness for fantasy football, I get to root for players.
Do you follow the draft at all?
Not as close as I probably could. Like, my son follows it. He could name every college player in basketball and football and this and that. For me, I can name every stock, every level, every this, but I'm not that involved with the college scene. Well,
okay, I was going to ask you, the draft is here in the Motor City, right below the world headquarters above Benzinga, and we're going to be doing a live stream for the first round of the draft, and we are inviting different people to be the general manager for the day, and come on, be on the clock while your team's on the clock, come out with your prediction. So we're looking for people from our chat. We're looking for some financial people.
Scott's boy.
Can I put my son on there? I'll put Chase Redler on there. Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
We'll do it together. We actually do a fantasy team together, and I'm the general manager. I pay for it, and he coaches it.
There you go.
Okay. All right. That sounds good. AB just dropped the link in there.
Yeah.
We need people from all the different cities, man. It's gonna be a wild draft. It's gonna be hundreds of thousands of people in downtown Detroit, and it's gonna be a blast. I'm looking forward to it. But Red Dog, thanks for coming on today, giving us a calm, cool, and collected perspective on the markets, and we'll see what the CPI has in store for us.
Yeah, that's all we could do is prepare for the conditions in front of us and react with the right decision at the right time, and we'll see what that is tomorrow. And if you want to try and cheat one way or another, I would really do it with options, so at least your risk is premium paid versus making a guess and all of a sudden April 10th being behind the eight ball, monthly or quarterly for your paycheck as a trader. It's not worth it.
Beautiful. All right. Well, Scott, again, you've got that link in the description. We'll drop that in the chat. Again, scan the QR code. Scott, as always, thanks for hopping on with us. We'll catch up soon.